Hey guys, Dr. Gonzo here. A lot of you have been wondering where our beloved comic book geek Brian has been. Well, for the last several months, he's been working a new position at his job that has him traveling back and forth across the country, and he hasn't been able to record with us. But we came up with a plan to have him still be a part of the team. We're sending him Ask a Geek questions that you guys have sent in, either directly for him or questions that he can contribute on, and he's producing a video blog on his own YouTube channel where he answers your questions. We put a link below the YouTube feed for this episode to his first vlog, and you guys should definitely check it out if you missed that Brian goodness. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Hello everybody and welcome again to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host and master of ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo. With me as always in this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the Cat. Cat, how are you doing?
Oh, you know, it's allergy season, so just sitting inside, not doing anything or going anywhere except to the movies.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's not really pollen season, but now, yeah, I can see. Yeah, definitely allergy season's kicking up.
It's been here for a while because we've been in summer temperatures for a month at least. It's been like over 80 to over 90 degrees here, Fahrenheit, for over a month now. So it's fucking hot, guys.
It hasn't been that hot over here where I'm at, but then again, I'm also near to the coast, so we tend it tends to get really hot a little later for us over here in the Chesapeake Bay area. So. But anyway, but you seem to sound a little less stressed than you have been the last couple weeks.
Oh no, I'm still stressed. I'm just, I'm too dead inside to be any more stressed than I already can be. Like, I'm so stressed at work, but I'm also a little dead inside. So
you're kind of so stressed out that you've gone full circle to being totally chill with it.
Yeah,
it's like this is my world.
I just live here. In the same place.
You see death, destruction, and mayhem. I just see Monday.
Exactly.
And speaking of death, destruction, and mayhem, our discussion topic this week is Deadpool 2, which I'm really excited about, and I thoroughly enjoyed. But that's gonna come in our discussion topic down the line. But first, let's go ahead and dig through the mailbag here for some Ask a Geek questions, and we've got a few here. First one here comes from, let's see, this one comes from Lacey, and it's for you, Kat. And she asks if you've been watching Netflix's Agretzko and what you think of it.
Oh my god, no, I need to watch it so badly, because I follow Erica Mendez on Twitter, and it looks so funny. I keep seeing the same, little gift set or little photo set of, the little character, whatever the name of the main character is, of metal rage screaming about how I don't want to wake up in the morning, and I'm like, oh my god, I identify with this character so much. I really, really need to watch it. My life is being ruled right now by catching up in Critical Role, but one day when I'm done with that, that's at the top of my list, because it is on Netflix, which does make it easier for me to watch than other things.
So you just haven't had a chance to see it yet, then?
Right, because, Geek and Sundry owns my soul currently, and then, yeah, at some point in time, I'll sit down and I'll watch it, probably over a weekend or something. I'll just shotgun the whole thing, but I don't have that much free time. So. Now, is this a Sanrio property?
I've heard that it is.
It deliberately looks like one, doesn't it? I don't think it is. I don't remember what.
It's Hello Kitty for adults.
It is. It's a bit like that. I don't think it is actually Sanrio, but I think it's deliberately meant to look like Sanrio. Like, you'd look at it and you'd be like, oh, Hello Kitty's cute little red panda friend. And then, she goes to a karaoke place and just starts screaming death metal, like, oh my god.
See, okay, red panda. I keep forgetting those are a thing because, I thought that she was supposed to be a kitsune.
I think she's supposed to be a red panda. I think she has a fennec fox friend and a couple of other cutesy animals, but I think she's supposed to be a red panda.
Well, you've actually lived in Japan, so you know more about the local fauna over there than I do. So I shall bow to your expertise. Okay, all right. So that's that question. Let's see. Next question here comes from. Let's see. We actually answered that one last week. Okay. All right. Here's one from Eric, and it's for me and Skyblaze. So Skyblaze isn't here, so I'll have to put it to her later. And it's the question he asked, and it's one I'm surprised and I don't think I've ever answered on the show. It's what is the worst video game I've ever played? And wow, this is a doozy. Okay. So to answer this question. There's been some, let's call it controversy over the last couple years about what exactly is and is not a video game. And I absolutely hate that argument. I believe, I just, if it's sold in a game shop, I'm willing to call it a video game. But as with all things, I believe that everybody should be allowed one get out of jail free card. And this is where I turn in mine with Pokemon Channel for the GameCube. This is not a video game. It's YouTube for 3-year-olds. Because literally the whole game is... It's supposed to be a quote-unquote sequel to Hey You Pikachu on the Nintendo 64. The whole thing kicks off with Professor Oak giving you this Pikachu and saying, okay, you're going to go and watch TV with this Pikachu. And there's like this short anime cartoon about a pair of Pichu that you watch in segments. And then the rest of it is just flipping through channels on a television, and it's all stuff like, here's a Pokemon news segment where, the anchor just speaks all in Pokemon speak, or, the Pokemon Weather Channel, and you're just flipping through this over and over again. And once you've watched enough segments, you get the next piece of the Pichu Brothers special, and I cannot see who this is for except for very small children. And that is probably the worst. I'd say that's the worst game I've ever played, just on the grounds that it barely qualifies. It plays on a GameCube. You interact with it with the controller, but those are all the elements of the video game that are present in Pokemon Channel. There are certainly games that are worse designed. Looking at you, Superman 64 and Aquaman on the Xbox. But this is the only one that I am willing to put up and say that this is not a real game, and this should not have been greenlit, and that's Pokemon Channel. Yeah. And now your next question may be, how did this wind up in my collection? It was given to me as a practical joke by a friend of mine who loves giving me gag gifts like that. He's actually the same one who gave me my copy of Aquaman for the Xbox the previous year, and when he gave me this one, I looked him in the face and I said, if giving a gift is supposed to send a message, you just told me to die in a fire with this. So, yeah, that's the worst game I've ever played. And then he's also got a follow-up question for you, Kat, and it is, what is the worst anime you've ever seen or manga you've ever read? So this should be fun.
Oh, God. It's tough because, there's some things that are, they're just not meant for me as an audience. And so I don't want to call something that I didn't like bad, knowing that I might not be its direct audience. But there was an anime that I watched called Mein Liebe, My Love. I'm sorry, I probably butchered the German pronunciation of that. But that's what it was called in the Japanese. And I've probably talked about this on the show before, but it was a long time ago, probably. But I am its audience. It's meant for me. It was like, it was Pretty Boys. And it was coming out around the same time as Oran High School Host Club. And it was like Pretty Boys in a group together at a school. So it was like in that same genre territory. It was like just a little bit boys love, like just enough for the fangirls out there who were like, oh, shipping. So this was totally something I should have fell in love with immediately. And my friend told me it was one of her favorite shows ever. So I watched it, and it was trash, you guys. It was awful. The character designs were just so mediocre. The characters themselves were bland, passé. They were stereotypes. And when it was coming out at the same time as Oran High School Host Club, which was stereotypes being subverted, it was really hard to deal with just straight stereotypes. Like, I'm okay with tropes and stuff, but you gotta give me a little bit of depth to them, and these characters had no depth. It was nothing but drama for the sake of drama. And it had all of these amazing voice actors in it playing just unwatchable characters in a boring ass story, and it was just terrible. And it was one of those times where I really geared myself up to be like, oh, well, my friend really, really, really recommended this. And she said it was fantastic and I'm going to watch it. And it was awful. It was awful. And everything actually that she made me watch, I ended up hating. That's really funny. Because she made me watch, God, what was it? Blood Plus C? It was like the TV show of Blood the Last Vampire, where it was all watered down and like not good at all. It was oh, I hated it. I know a lot of people love that one, but I hated it. It was so awful. And I was watching those around the same time too, so it was triple bad. Just the worst. But this is from the same girl, and I gotta give her credit for this. This girl's first language was not English, but it's the same girl who told me that Aragon was a really great book. It was the best book she'd ever read. And then I'm like, thinking about it, I'm like, oh, English isn't your first language. That explains why you like this book so much, because it's written awfully.
Yeah, I'm doing a Google search here, Google image search for this, and I'm looking at the character designs, and I'm just like, okay, it's Hooded Eyes, the show. Like, no one... I've seen maybe one image of one character who their eyes are open the whole way. Everyone else are doing that stupid, like, half-open, hooded lids thing that I see so many male anime characters do, and just drives me nuts.
I think it's legitimately like a boys love bait, where it's going to tease you with pretty boys and make you think that it's going to be a little more boys lovey or a little more homoerotic than it actually ended up being, and it ended up being so fucking boring and stupid. And I've seen other shows that are like that, and almost anybody can pull it off. It's not that hard to be just a little bit gay to get girls to watch a show. It's not that hard, and this one was awful.
And this purple-haired character with the cloak, yeah, Castlevania called. They want you to return Alucard.
I mean, I have seen extremely poorly animated, poorly acted, everything terrible about it that was still more enjoyable than this. Like, some shows are so bad, you're like, this is terrible, I kind of love it. And this one was just bad.
Okay, all right. Well, all right. Yeah, that's gonna be one to kind of shy away from. Okay, all right, and let's see. Here's another really fun one, and this one comes from Ryan, and it is for all of us, both of us because there's only two of us. And the question is, what is something that you enjoy that people would be surprised to find out? And I want to go first with this one because it loops back into something that you mentioned in your previous answer, Kat. But I get a lot of weird looks when I tell people that I really enjoyed Oran High School Host Club.
Oh, it's so good.
And they're like, wait, you read a girls manga? And I was like, no, I don't read the manga. I watch the anime. Because the thing that a lot of people who've only read the manga and what people who've only seen the anime don't seem to understand is that the two of them are vastly different. The manga, based on what little I've seen, plays itself very seriously as a shonen, I think, or is it shoujo?
It's shoujo.
Shoujo, okay. I always get the two of them confused. It plays itself very straight as a shoujo manga, whereas the anime, it's almost like a parody of itself. It's like someone took when they were producing the anime, they took the source material and said, okay, how can we make this as ridiculous as it can possibly be while still being true to the source material? And they showed it in my college anime club years and years ago, and I absolutely loved just how over the top it was. And I was very disappointed the English dub, but that's because, I don't know, I kind of don't really... I don't like Vic Mignogna, but that's kind of my own personal damage. But I absolutely loved the Oran High School Host Club anime. and I actually have the box set, and I like to break it out sometimes when I've had one too many Smirnoffs and I want something to laugh at.
It's a really good show. I've found that a lot of guys have hang-ups about watching it because it will make them feel less masculine if they watch a show that's directed for girls. But every guy that I've ever known who has watched it has found it hilarious, because that's what it is. It's comedy before it's anything else, and it's stupendous. It's great. I have the box set as well, and I have almost every single dub actor that's in it signed. I'm missing Lucy Christian, and it kills me.
Okay, so what's your answer? What's something you'd be surprised to find out?
A lot of, and this is, maybe it's just because I'm a girl, but a lot of people are surprised that I enjoy metal. And when I mean metal, I mean the only music I listen to that is metal is symphonic metal or power metal, and it's just a handful of bands. But it struck me the other day because I was talking to somebody we were talking about, oh yeah, I really want to play some music, and they'd be like, you wouldn't like the music I listen to, in sort of a condescending tone. And I'm like,
They said this to you?
Yeah, I did not let them slide on this. They said, okay, well, what kind of music do you listen to? I'm like, I like a little bit of metal. And they're like, oh, yeah, but I listen to symphonic metal. And I'm like, let me introduce you to my album collection of Nightwish. And they were like, oh, I didn't know you listened to that. I don't know what it is I have to do. Do I have to get, like, t-shirts? Do I have to get piercings or dye my hair black or get a couple of tattoos for people to think that I enjoy metal music without being a condescending asshole to me about it? Like, I just like some metal bands, and I like power metal too, but mostly just Dream Theater.
So question, do you own any Spike bracelets?
I do not.
Okay. You may want to consider getting one, because wearing one of those is the universal sign for I'm a metalhead.
Well, see, the problem is I really can't wear a lot of jewelry at work because I work in a place that has a machine shop, and it's really not that safe. And like, I just try to eschew anything but basically my Fitbit while I'm at work. And then on the weekends, I'm like, I don't want to get dolled up.
Ooh, you know what you should do? You just got a machine shop. You got to have somebody in that machine shop actually make you a Spike band that you can put over your Fitbit. Have a Spike Fitbit.
Well, see,
it's a fitness aid and doubles as defensive weaponry.
There is a guy in our shop who has a 3D printer, his own personal 3D printer that he just keeps in the shop. And every day I'm like, can you make this with that? Can you make me a dice tray with that? Like. Yeah, like, I strike people as nerd, but I don't strike people as metalhead, because I'm not a metalhead by any means. I just have a couple of bands that I like, but everybody's always like, what do you listen to? So what do they metal?
So what do they think? Now I'm curious. What do they think you listen to?
I don't know what they think I listen to. Like, they're just always surprised. People are always like, what do you mean you listen to this random band? And I've surprised people with my music before. Like, people are like, yeah, I listen to a really big variety. And I'm like, I listen to anime OSTs, some modern rock, some oldies, and then symphonic metal. And then people are always trying to one up. But once you throw symphonic metal in there at the same time you're throwing, like, anime OSTs, like, yeah, people think you're a little bit weirder than they did before. And honestly, that's not even that weird for my crowd of friends, but for some of the normies I hang out with, my music choices are a little bit on the weird side. I know people who listen to, like, trash music, like literal, like, people banging on trash cans, and, like, noise music. I don't know what you call it when it's just people banging on trash cans and screaming, but I know people who listen to that kind of music. And I'm like, okay, I thought I was weird. But you're real weird. But that's the kind of person, like, my friends who listen to that kind of shit are the exact type of people who I think would listen to that shit. I don't know if people think I listen to pop, or if they think I'm some sort of, like, a person who would listen to just jazz or classical, or if you accuse me of being a person who listens to nothing but musicals, that would probably not be super inaccurate. It's the metal that surprises people. It's never the musicals or anything like that.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, do me a favor. Next time you surprise someone with the fact that you like metal, ask them what they think you should like, and then report back. Because now I'm curious. I want to hear what they say. And if I see that your name appears in the paper that you murdered someone, I will know that the person that you asked has answered Justin Bieber.
Oh, Biebs.
So I don't know about you, but if you accuse me of enjoying Bieber, you're not walking away under your own power.
I don't give a shit what people think I listen to. I don't give a shit about Justin Bieber. I'm just curious why people would think I don't listen to metal.
So, but that's all the Ask Geek questions that we have for this week. Thank you as always for sending them in. As always, you can send them to us through the email at drgonzo@nerdtothethirdpower.com. We love getting your questions, love reading them on the air, and we love answering them. So get those questions in. You might get it read on the show. And so with that, we are going to jump right into our discussion topic this week, which is Deadpool 2, the much-anticipated sequel to Ryan Reynolds' first superhero romp that was actually good.
That was actually good.
Yeah.
Gotta slide that in there.
So, so I went and saw this actually just yesterday, and I absolutely loved it. I don't think I've laughed this hard at a movie in a very long time. So let's just start by giving our general thoughts on the film. So since I've already given mine, Kat, what were your general thoughts on Deadpool 2?
It's interesting because I've seen a lot of very different opinions. I think most people I see can agree it was a good movie. The big difference in opinion I've seen is it better than the first movie or not? And there's a lot of, I don't want to say there's contention, but I have seen a lot of difference of opinion in that regard. And my main fear going into it was that it wasn't going to be as good as the first, that it would suffer from sequel syndrome, where it just doesn't have what the first one had, or it's just rehashing the exact same thing as the first one, and it's just a tired movie. But it was actually very good. I don't think it was better or worse than the first one, but I highly enjoyed it. I think it was on par with the comedic genius of the first one.
I think the best description I've heard of the second movie is that Deadpool 2 is Deadpool 1 if it had an actual budget.
Basically.
Yeah, because it really felt like that a lot of what Deadpool 2 is stuff that they wanted to do in Deadpool 1, but because, Fox wanted to screw them on the budget, they couldn't do it. So I would say Deadpool 2 is to Deadpool 1 what Mega Man 2 was to Mega Man 1. It's a lot of the same, but just more of it and more polish to it. And so I guess this is the point where we should just start breaking the film down to its component parts, starting, of course, the story. And that alarm that you're hearing is our Nerd of the Third Power spoiler alert, informing you that, of course, spoilers are ahead. And if you have not seen the film, please pause this podcast, go see it, and then come back. We'll still be here. So let's go ahead and start with a brief rundown of the film. So the film opens up with Deadpool doing mercenary things. And he's not quite able to complete one of his jobs. There's a guy that he's going after that winds up getting away, fleeing into a panic room. And this winds up coming back to bite Wade in the ass when he goes home to his girlfriend, Vanessa. And the mobster dude and a bunch of cronies attack him in his apartment, and Vanessa winds up accidentally getting killed in the crossfire. And so Deadpool goes into kind of a suicidal depression until, trying to find ways to kill himself, until finally he gets sort of an unwanted intervention from Colossus from the X-Men, who convinces Deadpool to become an X-Man trainee, as they're very quick to point out every time Deadpool brings it up. And it's in the course of his time with the X-Men that Deadpool comes across Russell, also known as Fire Fist, who is a young mutant with fire-starting powers, and who winds up sort of latching on to Deadpool as a sort of a older brother, best friend / father figure. And Deadpool just wants absolutely none of it because he's still trying to find a way to kill himself. So through events in the film, Deadpool and Russell wind up in mutant prison together. And it's at this point that Cable enters into the picture, a mutant, well, not, I don't think they ever spell out that he's actually a mutant, but a soldier from the future time to be the Terminator to Russell's John Connor, to kill him before he becomes, it's never explicitly stated what exactly Russell's position in the future is, but it is stated that Russell killed family, and so he's come back to prevent that. And Deadpool decides that he's not exactly cool with this, and so he assembles a ragtag team of misfits to basically protect Russell from Cable and to try and prevent the bad future that Cable is also here to prevent. So that's the basic story beats of the film. So, Kat, what did you think of the plot of this?
It was always going to be interesting to see what they were going to do with Cable. I have very little knowledge of Cable other than his parentage and that he's from the future and is a total badass. But other than that, I really didn't have a beat on, how are they going to introduce him? What's going to make him travel in time? Are they going to make fun of him for his dad being Cyclops? What is going to happen? And how is a character... Are they going to be able to pull off having a character that serious up against Deadpool? Because in Deadpool 1, everybody was a comedic character, essentially, except the villain. And Cable is Cable and Deadpool are a comedy pair, basically, where you have the straight man and the funny one.
They're an odd couple.
They're the odd couple, basically. And the real question was, okay, are they going to make that work for the movie while, keeping the mood up, not killing the mood at all? Is it going to be good on film, basically? I forgot what the question was, but Cable was so goddamn cool.
Well, we're kind of discussing the plot. I have a lot of knowledge of Cable and his interactions with Deadpool because the Cable and Deadpool series that ran in the mid to late 2000s is one of my favorite comic books ever, and I was so sad when they canceled it. And this film actually borrows a lot of beats from Cable and Deadpool. There are actually some exchanges that are taken right out of the comic book. And I love that they had that sort of kind of antagonistic dynamic that they had when the book first started, and you kind of, because one of the things that made Cable and Deadpool so great was, again, Cable was played so straight versus Deadpool's silliness, and it was great to see these two characters kind of bounce off each other, and I love that they were able to carry that dynamic into the film. Without either one sort of overpowering the other. So, like, the moments that focus on Cable, they feel very grim and dark and serious. And then the moments that focus on Deadpool are kind of happy, wacky, fun times. And then, of course, the moments where they mix are, everything's up in the air. Other things that I noticed that they took from the comics that I thought were really cool was, one of them was how they used Vanessa in this film. And the plot where Deadpool is trying to die so that he can be with her in the afterlife, because that is directly taken out of the comics and Deadpool's interaction with the personification of death in the Marvel Universe. As I think I mentioned in our Infinity War podcast, in the Marvel Universe, the personification of death is a woman who winds up falling in love with Deadpool, and he with her. And the tragedy of their relationship is that the only way for them to be together is for Deadpool to finally die for good. But because of his healing powers, that's not possible. So they can only really kind of steal moments together in the times where Deadpool is just so thoroughly ripped to shreds that his body has got to basically rebuild itself. And I love that they kind of threaded that into this film with Vanessa, and then completely subverted it at the end, which we'll discuss later. So I thought that was a neat little touch. And then the plot with Russell was taken from the recent I don't know if it was Deadpool's own book or if it was his time during the X-Force. But in one of those books, there's an arc where they come across a young Apocalypse, who in the comics, the future that Cable comes from is one where Apocalypse has taken over the world and has, caused the whole big war that Cable has come back in time to prevent. And so in the comics, they find Apocalypse as a child, and there's a whole back and forth between X-Force. They want to kill Apocalypse, the young Apocalypse, and prevent this future. And Deadpool's like, no, he's just a kid. There's still a chance that we can prevent this. And I like that they kind of translated that into this film with Russell, and still had it, take those beats while also making sense within the greater X-Men films. And again, as far as specific story beats, like I said, this story in this film hits a lot of the same beats as the first one, but just with a higher budget. This is really, as far as plot and scripting, this really is Deadpool 1 just with more, if that makes any sense. But where this film, I think, really shines and how it distinguishes itself from the first film is in the characters. So let's go into that. So, Kat, how did you like the characters in this film?
Can we just spend the next hour talking about what a Fox Domino is? Because she was amazing. I knew nothing about Domino except what I saw in the trailers, and I'm like, okay, I hope they don't screw this up, because I have no idea what they're going to do with this character. And I hope they don't sideline her or whatever, because we've seen some really good, I'm going to throw this in here, but representation is important. Strong female characters, black women especially is important, and we are seeing a really, this last year has been pretty good with Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok, and the entire support cast of Black Panther has all been really good representation. And I was like, oh man, I hope Domino's pretty cool, because if they fuck this up, it's not going to taste well. And when it's sitting in your mouth, you're like, I don't know. So she was so completely different than, first off, I had nothing I could have imagined what she would be like, but whatever subconsciously I did imagine, this was not it. She was just so carefree and happy-go-lucky, and it was really different than anything we've seen on screen lately in terms of what we would think of as strong female characters. Like, she just kind of came in and did her own thing and was super confident and went toe-to-toe with everyone else, and I was like, God damn, she's cool. Her look was really interesting. I was distracted by her eyes a lot because she has two different colored eyes. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be focusing on dialogue and quips. She was so cool.
Yeah, Domino, what they did with her in this film, first off, as far as her personality, one of the problems that I have with Domino in the comics is she doesn't really have one, because she's very much a D-list character in the Marvel Universe. So really, the only personality she really has is whatever the writer gives her for that particular book. So it kind of made sense for her to bring her into this film as just add her to the stable, because she's very much a blank slate. There was, not a whole lot that they were really bound to as far as her character. I did like how they translated her mutant superpower, because in the comics, her ability is she can actually alter the probability of events around her, which I knew that they tried to explain that in the films and make it explicit, that it was just going to not make any goddamn sense. So for them to translate that into she's just supernaturally lucky, I thought was a real neat way to translate that. The one real issue that I had that was just a little, kind of personal, I don't know, minor quibble thing that just kind of drove me up the wall, because like I said, I'm such a huge fan of the Deadpool comics and the characters within, is the patch around her eye. That white patch, it seemed like it kind of blended in and was very difficult to see at points. And the thing is, like, that, that eye patch, that's one of Domino's most distinguishing features. And so it looked to me like they were trying to sell it up as like, okay, it's an actual mark on her skin, as it is in the comics. But because it wasn't very bright and it was kind of difficult to see in some shots. It almost looked like it was just really badly done makeup. So that was really my one real, quibble with Domino in this film. But no, she was great. I loved what they did in this film. Cable, I thought, was really well done. I was kind of afraid that we were going to get Thanos 2.0 because the same actor who plays Thanos is the same actor who plays Cable. And so I was kind of afraid that we were just going to get Thanos 2.0. And, we didn't get that. There was still sort of, whereas Thanos was portrayed more of a kind of the reluctant tyrant, I guess, in Infinity War, to boil him down. Cable played very much more as kind of a very straight, stereotypical, dark and gritty action antagonist, and that worked so well for this film because, again, he's going up against Deadpool, who his whole shtick is poking holes in those tropes and just subverting the hell out of them. So Josh Brolin, I feel like, did a really good job with Cable in this movie.
It was great because when he was in his own scenes that Deadpool wasn't in, he felt like he was in a whole nother movie. It felt like, okay, I'm watching Terminator that's flipping back in between Terminator and Deadpool. But they did it so seamlessly that it was extremely entertaining. Cable was absolutely amazing to watch. Because again, that comedy duo that they have between the two of them is like the chemistry there, or the lack of chemistry there, was just superb.
Yeah. Now, what did you think of Russell in this movie? Or Firefist, as he likes to be called.
Russell was interesting because I kind of felt sorry for him. And then I was like, no, I kind of hate you a little bit because you're just a little punk kid. But mostly I for him. He was a product of his environment. But the actor was great. The actor was in a movie that he would not be allowed to see legally. So I think I was reading some interview with that kid and then going, I wasn't allowed to see the naughty bits in Deadpool, but the naughty bits are the best part of the original film. So I can't wait to take my parents to see my movie and listen to them whisper, "Oh my God, what have they done to my child?"
I don't know. I was kind of... if Russell was really the only character that I could really say I didn't care for. Because, I'm trying to think of how to put this. He was written, I felt, kind of like typical dork who thinks he's a badass. Like, you had the scenes in the prison where he's like, oh, I made a shiv out of a pen and we're going to find the biggest guy in the prison and make him our bitch. And, I'm kind of like, yeah, I went to high school with people like you and they got the shit kicked out of them every day.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of my qualm with why I didn't always like him throughout the film, is because while I think for the most part he was right in that he was tortured and wanting revenge, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's the idea that he's so wrong about everything involving the prison and shivving people and making people their bitch, and the way he talks and everything, about being so gangster or being a thug or whatever he talks about. And you're like, oh my God, you are so wrong. You're so squishy. Stop saying that. And
it's
for
like
him
he took
to
his life lessons from... Sorry, go ahead.
And for him to be proven right at any point in time is extremely frustrating. It's very like, no, you're wrong. Don't make friends with the biggest guy in the fucking prison. No, don't be friends with that biggest guy in the prison. He's a little punk-ass bitch who needs to be taught a lesson. Don't ever prove that shithead right.
It's like he took all his life lessons from Linkin Park song. So, again, spoiler alert, but the Juggernaut appearing, that was a real surprise.
Oh my God. I was so excited for the Juggernaut, and then I was simultaneously extremely disappointed that it wasn't Vinnie Jones playing him. because I have a strong, passionate love of Vinnie Jones, not particularly as a Juggernaut, but just in general. But I wanted it to hear the phrase "I'm the Juggernaut bitch" again.
Yes! Oh my god! And I was like, if there was ever a movie that would call attention to that, it's this one. And they never touched it. I was so disappointed.
And I'm like, okay, you're being the Juggernaut. That's more accurate to the comics than the other films were, and I appreciate what you're doing. But my God, Vinnie Jones saying "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch" is the most amazing thing of any X-Men film, and I needed it so badly. But I did like the Juggernaut in it. It's not even that the Juggernaut was in it; it was everyone's to the Juggernaut, because if you didn't watch that, he was in X2, if I remember correctly.
3.
3? Only 3?
Yeah, only 3.
Oh, you're right. Angel. I remember. Okay. So he was only in that of all films. The worst of them. The worst of the X-Men films, arguably. Of the X-Men films, not Wolverine. And so if you didn't watch that, which I would not blame you for, you don't have an idea of, and again, unless you're reading the comics, you probably don't have an idea of who the Juggernaut is, what he's about. And so the hype means nothing. But if you have any sense of who the Juggernaut is, you're like, oh, this is good. This is actually great. Because I was sitting there thinking for quite some time, who's it going to be? What's the monster in the basement? And I was analyzing it in my head, knowing almost nothing about the X-Men comics. Going, okay, there's a big guy, he's scary, everyone's terrified of him, but can fit into that vehicle that they were moving him in. And then when the Juggernaut pops out, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I actually had it spoiled. That it spoiled for me that it was, or I shouldn't say spoiled, but I knew that it was going to be the Juggernaut when they introduced Black Tom as being one of the prisoners, because in the comics, Black Tom and Juggernaut were, I guess, partners in crime, and I'd even dare to say friends. So Black Tom is one of the only people that Juggernaut has regarded as a friend. So usually where Black Tom Cassidy goes, Juggernaut isn't very far behind. So the minute that one prisoner introduced himself as Black Tom, I was like, okay, Juggernaut's around here somewhere.
Oh, man.
So, but yeah, I love what they did with the Juggernaut. And so I guess that sort of brings us into the script of this movie. And oh my God, this movie just is like, it's fourth wall break the movie. And the thing is like, they do so many things in this film that are so clever and so far out of left field that you don't even see them coming. And when they do, they hit so hard, they're hysterical. Like the one standout moment for me is where Deadpool is trolling around the X Mansion. He's ranting and raving about how no one is around. But then you see over his shoulder the cast of X-Men First Cast, and Beast just slowly closes the door like, we're not here.
That scene was amazing. I have many questions about the timeline after that, but that scene was amazing. Like, just when we go, there's never anyone here! And it's just them quietly closing the door so that Deadpool... And then I was like, that's exactly how many seconds of film they could afford those people for. Was just enough time to get everyone in makeup and to film them inside of a room with a door closing. That's how much they could afford. That scene was great. God. The script was... I would call it like a beautiful... mess, because it was all over the place, but in a controlled way. I mean, like, because it's Deadpool and his character is just so like chaotic neutral that the story and the characters were just going all over the place, and then you had the segments with just Cable that felt like you were watching a completely different film entirely, and then bringing them all together. It was very, very interesting, just the way that the whole script went. But yeah, all the fourth wall breaking, especially at the end, like, it makes you wonder what they're going to do with the next one, the future, I believe, X-Force film that they're going to do. or where they, if the character of Deadpool is going to have any kind of character growth at all or whatever. It was a very heartfelt story, despite all of its somewhat inane or ridiculous nature. It was, Cable learning a very valuable lesson about maybe don't kill children, because you don't have to necessarily. And Deadpool trying to save a kid, like just trying to save one kid's life, like not being a selfish bastard for 5 minutes long enough to save some kid, because in a way it's like saving his self, I guess.
Oh my god, you know what I just realized?
What?
This movie's a riff on Logan.
Yeah, basically. I mean, that should have been clear from the outset, which I still haven't even seen Logan, but thank God I already knew everything that happens in it.
Well, I mean, like this, the movie takes, it's almost like a beat-for-beat retread of Logan. You have, main character is a selfish asshole, has to protect this kid who is a reflection of themselves, and in the process learn about themselves and become a better person. Whereas Logan plays it deadly serious, Deadpool just shoves a lightning rod up its ass.
Literally, in some cases. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because Logan was the last X film to come out, and he deliberately, when blowing himself up at the beginning of the film, says, "Oh, Wolverine died in his film. Well, I'm gonna die in mine." It kind of makes sense that it was all actually just going back to, Logan and being a parody almost of Logan.
So I thought the Logan joke was only going to go as far as music box at the beginning, because that's actually how that music box actually shows how Wolverine dies in Logan. He's impaled on a tree trunk. So when you brought that out, I was like, oh, okay, that's neat. They're riffing on the last movie, and then it's Deadpool being jealous of Wolverine. But then I didn't realize the whole movie was basically riffing on Logan, and
maybe not intentionally, probably a little bit intentionally.
And then you mentioned the fourth wall break at the end. Can we just talk about that scene where Deadpool steps into the timeline from X-Men Origins and kills off Barakapool?
That was amazing. That was so unexpected. Like, okay, him going back in time and saving Vanessa and killing some people makes sense. Him going back in time to another film that may or may not be part of the canon and killing himself was insane. And then him jumping completely out of the fifth wall at that point. I don't even know what you call it when you're... And like, killing himself or
killing Ryan Reynolds.
Killing Ryan Reynolds for taking the Green Lantern film. Oh my god.
It was really funny is if you followed the press leading up to the... Warner Brothers was not happy with that.
I'm sure they weren't. But you know what? Ryan Reynolds wasn't happy with that film, so...
So, but I don't know if there's going to be a Deadpool 3, but if there isn't, this is certainly a very high note for Deadpool to bow out on if this winds up being his last film. I doubt that it is. This movie is making gangbusters at the box office. I think it came close to actually meeting Infinity War's opening weekend numbers, based on what I've read. So I seriously, and Ryan Reynolds, he loves the character so much that I really doubt that he's going to let this be Deadpool's last ride. So
what I heard is that they're actually going to do an X-Force film after this.
I'd heard that they were in talks. I didn't know that. I don't know if it's been officially greenlit yet, but we'll see.
I hope so.
So, but I don't know who they'd probably bring back Domino, but all the other X-Force characters that showed up in this movie wound up getting killed in pretty short order.
Well, yeah, but then he went back in time and brought them all back.
Well, we only saw him save Peter.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know if he saved Zeitgeist or Shatterstar or Brad Pitt. Which can we talk about just how out of left field that was, having the Vanisher be Brad Pitt?
It's kind of like Matt Damon being in Thor Ragnarok. You're like, wait, did I just see what I thought I saw?
What were some other standout moments in the film?
Oh gosh, there were so many. I really, and I know we've already talked about it a little, liked the role that Vanessa played in this film, because it's such a horrendous trope to just kill the girlfriend, and then have that be a springboard for the revenge arc, you know? And for her to sort of continue to be in it and play this, maybe not a moral compass, but to give him a direction, like a sense of direction, after death, and to continue to have her in the film, and then later for him to go back in time and fix it all, sort of redeems what would have otherwise been a horrible and not Deadpool-worthy trope.
So, okay. Let's see, the standout moment for me. Oh god, again, like you said, there's so many. I really had a blast with the basically any time that Cable and Deadpool were fighting, especially where the point where Cable is using his own broken arm as a sling to choke Cable.
Yeah.
So
oh,
that was a really good one. And then I also really liked the fight choreography Domino. I thought that was really neat.
Gosh, every piece of action involving Domino, like the bus scene where she's not driving a bus, but she's driving that whatever that large vehicle is she's driving, and everything just always goes her way. And that last scene right at the end when she's like looking at all the kids and she's like, man, we're gonna need a bus to get out of here. And then a bus just shows up and she's like, orphans? And then it was just the orphans.
So we're kind of coming down to the end of the clock here. So let's start wrapping things up. Like final general thoughts on the film. So what are your final thoughts on Deadpool 2?
Extremely excellent, especially for a sequel film. A very great addition to the Deadpool franchise, so to speak. Highly enjoyable, extremely inappropriate for children. Please do not take children to see this film. Just because your kid likes superhero movies does not mean Deadpool is appropriate for them. It really should not be viewed by anybody under the age of 14. It's even the previews before the film were inappropriate for children. So again, don't go take your children to see this movie, and if you do, don't fucking get upset at the movie for being inappropriate. Excellent film. Cable was amazing. Domino was amazing. Really enjoyed the new characters and their chemistry with Deadpool. Just all around excellent. I really hope they do X-Force now.
Alrighty, okay. Let's see. I really enjoyed it. I really love Deadpool 2. Like I said, I don't think I've laughed this hard in a very long time. It's definitely it's one I know that I'm gonna have to get the Steel for, especially after what they've done with the DVD cases of the first movie leading up to this one. So this is definitely gonna be a day one Blu-ray purchase for me. But it's like I said, it's Deadpool 1, but more. It's got more polish, more budget, more scope. It's just more. That's really the only way I can put it. But in a good way. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with Deadpool 3 or X-Force, whichever comes first. So, and I'm also in kind of doing research leading up to this. I've seen rumors that if the Disney Fox merger goes through, that Deadpool might be incorporated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I would love. If I could live in a universe where Deadpool and Tony Stark are just riffing off of each other, I would call that the best timeline.
There's like hellfire raining outside, and you're like, no, this is still the best time. This is great.
So this is the part of the show where we give our final ratings. As always, best to worst. See it now. Wait for matinee, wait for DVD, wait for cable, don't even bother. And Brian's rating, fuck this movie. So, Kat, what's your rating for this film?
Don't wait for cable. Go see him now.
I'm gonna say the same thing. See it now. Yeah, Deadpool 2. Definitely a great film, and definitely some needed catharsis after Infinity War.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Where you're just like, ooh, that was heavy. Let me go wash that taste out of sadness out of my mouth by watching Deadpool.
Deadpool teaches us to love again. So, yeah. And that's all the time that we have for this week. Thank you as always for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the cat.
Taka, play us out.